Allama Iqbal, the awakener of Muslim identity and architect of thought. In the vast tapestry of history, few figures shine as brightly as Allama Muhammad Iqbal. Known as the poet of the East and the philosophical founder of Pakistan, Iqbal's life was not just a tale of poetic excellence, but a deep and intense journey to awaken a sleeping nation. His story is not just for scholars or historians, it's for every young dreamer, every seeker of truth, and every believer in justice. Iqbal didn't just write poetry, he inspired revolutions. He didn't just speak of change, he ignited it with words that still echo across generations. Born in the modest town of Sialkot in 1877, Iqbal's early life was rooted in simplicity and discipline. His father, Sheikh Nur Muhammad, a man of deep spiritual insight despite his humble profession as a tailor, gave Iqbal his first lessons in ethics and spirituality. His mother, Bibi, was a woman of great inner strength and compassion, whose death left a lasting impact on his soul. These parental influences planted the seeds of both intellectual depth and emotional richness that would later define his poetry. From a very young age, Iqbal showed exceptional brilliance. Unlike ordinary children, he would often be seen lost in thought, silently reflecting on life, human nature, and the universe. His teacher, Syed Mir Hassan, recognized this spark early on. A scholar of Arabic, Persian, and Islamic philosophy, Mir Hassan became Iqbal's mentor and played a key role in shaping his academic and moral foundations. Under his guidance, young Iqbal not only mastered classical languages but also absorbed the beauty and depth of Islamic heritage and Persian literature. But Iqbal's genius could not be confined to Sialkot. His journey took him to Government College Lahore, one of the most prestigious institutions of British India. Here, he studied philosophy, Arabic, and English literature. It was during this phase that he began writing poetry, first in Persian, then in Urdu. His poems were not mere arrangements of rhyme and rhythm. They were soul-stirring calls to action, filled with deep symbolism, emotion, and wisdom. His verses began resonating with students, intellectuals, and reformers alike. Still, Iqbal sought more. In 1905, he embarked on a journey to Europe, a turning point not just in his life but in the intellectual awakening of South Asian Muslims. At Cambridge, he studied philosophy. At Lincoln's Inn, he trained in law. In Munich, he earned a PhD for his groundbreaking work, The Development of Metaphysics in Persia. While Europe dazzled him with its scientific advancements and modernity, he was equally disturbed by its spiritual emptiness and moral decay. In contrast, he believed that the solution to humanity's crisis lay in Islam's spiritual and ethical framework. Allama Iqbal, A Life of Vision, Struggle, and Legacy. Chapter 1, A Humble Beginning in Sialkot. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, the great philosopher, poet, and visionary behind the idea of Pakistan, was born on November 9, 1877, in the historic city of Sialkot in Punjab, then a part of British India. His family was of Kashmiri Brahmin origin who had converted to Islam several generations earlier. His father, Sheikh Nur Muhammad, was a deeply religious man who earned his living as a tailor but was rich in spiritual values and simplicity. His mother, Bibi, was a kind and gentle woman, known for her piety and compassion. From a very young age, Iqbal showed signs of a brilliant mind. His early education was rooted in Islamic teachings and Persian and Arabic literature. His father enrolled him in the Scotch Mission High School in Sialkot, where he came under the mentorship of Syed Mir Hassan, a scholar of Islamic studies and literature. It was under Mir Hassan's guidance that Iqbal began to develop a strong foundation in Arabic, Persian, and Islamic philosophy. In his youth, he was greatly influenced by the rich spiritual environment at home and by his exposure to classical Islamic teachings. These experiences laid the groundwork for his later ideas on Muslim identity, selfhood, and revival. Chapter 2, The Lahore Years and Academic Brilliance. After completing his matriculation in Sialkot, Iqbal moved to Lahore and enrolled at Government College Lahore, one of the most prestigious institutions in British India at the time. There he came into contact with some of the brightest minds and professors, including Sir Thomas Arnold, who played a critical role in shaping Iqbal's intellectual trajectory. Iqbal excelled in his studies and obtained a bachelor's degree in philosophy, English literature, and Arabic. He later earned a master's degree in philosophy, for which he received a gold medal. During his years in Lahore, he began to write poetry, mostly in Persian and later in Urdu, exploring themes of divine love, unity, and spiritual awakening. Iqbal also started teaching at Oriental College and began practicing law, although his passion lay in writing and intellectual thought. His poetry during this time began to attract attention, particularly his nationalist poems, which spoke about unity among Indians regardless of religion. However, with time, Iqbal's thoughts evolved from pan-Indian nationalism to a focus on Muslim identity and unity. Chapter 3, Journey to Europe, a Turning Point. In 1905, Iqbal traveled to Europe for higher studies. He studied at Trinity College, University of Cambridge, where he earned a degree in philosophy. He also obtained a law degree from Lincoln's Inn in London. Later, he pursued a Ph.D. from the University of Munich in Germany, where his doctoral thesis focused on Persian metaphysics and was titled The Development of Metaphysics in Persia. Europe exposed Iqbal to Western philosophies and political systems. He became deeply acquainted with the works of Friedrich Nietzsche, Henri Bergson, and Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. While he admired the scientific progress and intellectual freedom in the West, he was disillusioned by its materialism and spiritual decay. His stay in Europe was a crucial turning point. He began to develop a distinct philosophical stance that sought to blend the rationalism of the West with the spiritualism of Islam. It was during this period that Iqbal conceived the early ideas of Muslim selfhood and the need for a separate identity. Chapter 4, Return to India, Awakening the Muslim Mind. Iqbal returned to India in 1908 with a renewed sense of purpose. He resumed his legal practice and also began teaching philosophy again. However, his primary focus shifted to writing and inspiring the Muslim youth. Through lectures, poetry, and essays, he began to spread his message of self-realization, or Khudi. A concept that encouraged Muslims to rediscover their inner strength and dignity. In his landmark Persian work, Asrar-e-Khudi, Secrets of the Self, Iqbal introduced his philosophy of Khudi, arguing that self-development and spiritual awakening were the keys to individual and national revival. This was followed by other philosophical poems like Rumuz-e-Bekhudi, The Secrets of Selflessness, which emphasized community values and collective responsibility. Iqbal believed that the decline of Muslims was not due to external forces alone but stemmed from a loss of spiritual and intellectual vitality. He called on Muslim youth to embrace education, re-engage with the Quran, and revive the essence of Islamic civilization. Chapter 5, Political Awakening and the Two-Nation Theory. Iqbal's intellectual and philosophical evolution inevitably led him to political thought. While he initially supported Indian nationalism, he grew increasingly disillusioned with the Indian National Congress and its inability to safeguard Muslim rights. His political ideas began to take a clearer shape in the 1920s. By the time he was elected as president of the All India Muslim League in 1930, he had become a staunch advocate for the political and cultural independence of Muslims in India. In his historic Allahabad address in December 1930, Iqbal formally proposed the idea of a separate Muslim state in northwest India. I would like to see the Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, Sindh and Baluchistan amalgamated into a single state. Self-government within the British Empire or without the British Empire, the formation of a consolidated Northwest Indian Muslim state appears to me to be the final destiny of the Muslims. This vision laid the intellectual foundation for what would eventually become Pakistan. Though the idea was met with resistance at the time, it marked a turning point in the subcontinent's history. Chapter 6, The Poet of the East. Iqbal's literary and philosophical contributions extended far beyond political boundaries. He was recognized as the poet of the East not only in Pakistan but also across the Muslim world, particularly in Iran, Turkey, and Central Asia. His poetry captured the soul of the Muslim Ummah. He called on Muslims to rise above sectarian differences, to revive the spirit of ijtihad, independent reasoning, and to build societies rooted in justice, equality, and spirituality. His work served as a bridge between classical Islamic thought and the challenges of modernity. Books like Payam-e Message of the East, Bal-e-Jibril, Gabriel's Wing, Zarb-e-Kalim, The Rod of Moses, and Javid-Nama, The Book of Eternity, reflect his deep engagement with both Eastern and Western thought. In Javid-Nama, a spiritual journey styled like Dante's Divine Comedy, Iqbal takes the reader on a voyage through different stages of the soul's development, guided by Rumi, his spiritual mentor. Chapter 7, Bond with Quaid-e-Azam and the Dream of Pakistan. Though Iqbal passed away in 1938, before the actual creation of Pakistan, his ideas had a profound influence on Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Quaid-e-Azam, founder of Pakistan. Through a series of letters, Iqbal convinced Jinnah to return to India from London and to lead the struggle for Muslim rights. Iqbal saw in Jinnah the qualities of leadership that could transform his vision into a political reality. He assured Jinnah of the philosophical and ideological strength of the movement for Muslim autonomy. Jinnah later acknowledged Iqbal's pivotal role, saying, "If I live to see the ideal of a Muslim state being realized, I will owe it to this man who is no longer with us." Iqbal's influence on the Pakistan movement was so significant that he is rightfully regarded as its spiritual father. Chapter 8, Final Years and Passing Away. In his final years, Iqbal suffered from ill health, particularly throat ailments, which eventually led to his demise. Despite his physical weakness, his mind remained sharp, and he continued to write poetry and advise political leaders. His final collection, Armagani-Hijaz, The Gift of Hijaz, was published posthumously. It was a fitting conclusion to a life devoted to spiritual, intellectual, and political awakening. On April 21, 1938, Iqbal passed away in Lahore at the age of 60. His funeral was attended by thousands, and he was laid to rest near the Badshahi Mosque, in a tomb that remains a place of reflection and reverence. Chapter 9, Legacy and Continuing Relevance. Allama Iqbal's legacy transcends time and geography. He is remembered not only as a national poet of Pakistan but as a thinker who reshaped modern Islamic thought. His ideas on education, youth empowerment, spiritual development, and political independence remain relevant to this day. In Pakistan, Iqbal's birthday is celebrated as a national holiday. Countless schools, universities, and public institutions bear his name. His poetry is studied not just for its beauty but for the depth of its message. For many, he remains the conscience of the nation. Chapter 10, Conclusion, A Light That Still Guides. Allama Iqbal's life was a journey of the mind and soul, a quest to uplift his people through ideas, words, and action. From the streets of Sialkot to the lecture halls of Cambridge, from poetry written in solitude to speeches that shaped history, he lived a life of meaning and mission. His message to the youth, of self-discovery, courage, and unwavering faith, still resonates across generations. Iqbal did not just dream of Pakistan, he gave its people a reason to believe in their worth, their rights, and their destiny. As long as there are voices that seek justice, hearts that yearn for truth, and minds that dare to dream, Allama Iqbal's legacy will continue to illuminate the path forward.